Because I saw an article that said it's rough out there for French bulldogs out in LA. So things have gotten heated, which means it's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting easier from outside the cage because there's a little bit more distant, can be just as stressful. I am your host, Kevin. With me, of course, Raph Esparza. Raph, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Beat by beat, you had to defend your dog's honor.
Oh, God.
Knives, guns, Sly Stallone, escape from Burbank. There was a lot of buzz. What happened? Did your jiu-jitsu pay off? Did you heel hook someone?
No, it would have been nice to. I wish that there was a really big jiu-jitsu save the day moral to the story. But no, it actually wasn't the Frenchie. It was, and I have news for you. We referred to it as a chug, which is a Chihuahua and pug combination. But I don't know if I mentioned this during Christmas, but my wife, for her gift, wanted me to get her DNA tests for the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Did we discuss this?
I can't tell. There's some Venn diagrams where did we just make fun of this privately? Did we do it publicly? Was it on the podcast? Who gives a shit? Let's do it again. Yeah,
sure,
you heard that, right? The Christmas wish was, what are these mutt dogs?
Which, by the way, is more expensive than the human
And
DNA
I would
test.
love to talk shit. I would love to get really deep into the things you could have done with that money, except I already got my dogs tested too. So
oh,
no
did you?
better.
Oh, you've done the same thing?
No better. Yeah, I have. I am the proud owner of results of 3 dogs' DNA. So
wow.
Look out.
So let me ask you.
I
Because
probably shamefully kept it a secret while you just
let me ask you, because you've been a dog owner for longer than I have. And when someone who you love, let's say your wife, asks you for this kind of a gift, is the right phraseology, are you sure? Or is it why?
Knowing you specifically, I'll just give you my feedback would have been watch your eyes. Don't do that eye thing where you look at her like, oh my God. Because the way you look at me, I don't know, 30% of the time. So that would have been my specific advice. It wouldn't have been what you'd said. It would have been the look. It seems like who gives a shit? I mean, mission accomplished, because I think you're about to reveal, because you started this with actually not a pug, like our Frenchie, which I thought she was a little bit in there, but
here's the good news. Because we have 2 dogs, you did them for 3. Did you find out any new information when you did it?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What was the new?
Our 90-pound pit bull is also like 10, 12% Bichon Frise. And that was fun information. That's like Great Pyrenees, which explains the size. And our tiny little beagle mutt is part pit bull, which is fun.
Okay. Again, this is good.
How good and helpful, I don't know. Now it just sounds like a dog owner recapping mildly unimportant details, but sure.
So on my wife's side, our first result was for Lucy, our French bulldog, who, I don't know if you felt this way when they sent you the results, but she wanted me originally to wrap them up and give them to her. And I said, sure. And then she had no patience for it because it was after Christmas, because they were backlogged. And she just goes, nah, just I'll look it up. And when she saw it, it was as if you looked at your astrology report after the day was done and you go, yep, I knew that happened. Yep, confirm that. And I go, what did it say? And she goes, yeah, Lucy, French bulldog, 91% Frenchie, 9% bulldog. And I go, why did we pay this money? This is so stupid. However, results spoiled on the second child with what we thought was the chug. We later found out she is a pug zoo, which is a pug / shih tzu. So yeah, so I don't know how you feel, but every day I pick up this dog and I say something akin to, who's a chug? Are you a chug? And I realized for about 7 months now, she's been lying to me.
Yeah.
Because I would pick her up and ask her, "Are you a pug? Are you a chug? Are you whatever?" And she would be like, "Yeah, I'm a chug."
Just
And I
acting
was
like
like,
she
"What the
is.
fuck? This is a fucking liar amongst us." So I was so mad. Like once I read that result, I looked at her and I go, "I thought we had something." Anyway, this dog and I, the chug, if you would, formerly now Pug Zoo, we're walking out on the streets, and we have a pretty decent street around us here in the Burbank area. And there was a gentleman who was maybe about 10 yards away from me, and he had his mask down. So one of those. And he stops for a minute, and, the Pug Zoo is very energetic. It kind of bounces up and it barks, it yelps a little bit, but it wants to play. And this dude, who's probably drunk, looks at her and is like, "Hey, get the fuck away from me." Now, I don't know if you ever feel the need to tell someone to shut the fuck up, but they're usually humans. I can't recall telling a dog, let alone someone else's dog, to shut the fuck up too many times. Have you?
No, comma. No, not to its face. Because now
That's
that I'm
fine.
thinking about like the loudest neighbor dog I've ever had, I'm just like, I wish I would shut the fuck up, like quietly.
Absolutely
Like
right.
I don't want
You
somebody to
think
see
it, but
me
you
being
don't
like,
say it, Kevin.
exactly, yeah.
So he does that, and I think I'm okay because it's just words at this point. But then he says something to the effect of, "Hey, shut the fuck up. You need to fucking shut the fuck up." He's not even talking to me. He's talking to the dog. And I think this is a very awkward conversation. And he gets his foot up like he's going to squash it. He's like, "I want to fucking crush that fucking little dog, that little piece of shit dog." And the meme that we put up was the moment when one Daniel Day-Lewis goes into full killer mode in Gangs of New York. And that's about what it looked like for me. Now, most of you know me. You know that I'm fairly peaceful and nice and use my jiu-jitsu mostly for good. And I looked at this dude and I was like, "You need to get yourself under fucking control and shut the fuck up." And like, it was pretty dope because I don't know if you know this in that meme, because people like really have laughed at it. They've enjoyed it. But there's a moment when other people pull off Daniel Day-Lewis's coat and his top hat and they come to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was really hoping the Pug Zoo was going to take off my jacket and take my top hat as well.
Dance around behind you. Get the crowd all stirred up.
But yeah, that was, I have to say, that was probably the closest I've gotten to a fight, like an actual physical fight, in all of the years I've been doing jiu-jitsu now. So fortunately, the dude either was drunk and stumbled back or just kind of sat down. But it was, I'll take it as a win either way.
No lie. And enough, it sounds like, to at least get the adrenaline pumping.
I mean, here's the dumb part. Everybody does this when they think they're about to get into a fight, but they immediately go into, "I think this guy's got a fucking bum leg." Okay, noted. The only thing you don't know, because it is dark, you're like, this dude better not try and stab me. I just don't really feel like getting stabbed on a Monday.
And in general, a
Yeah.
real fear of mine. It's like, no, it's going to hurt. Don't do it.
So other than that, quite a nice night. Did anybody try and stab you over the weekend?
No, I will say I've had a few dicey moments with dogs,
Oh, no.
including a guy that brought two dogs in and one just immediately attacked ours. I yelled steadily at him. But my opposite world version of this is we're at the dog park and the aforementioned pit bull is just getting look, this is an adult show. He's just getting humped from every angle. Raph is sad. He's got a Great Dane just going to town on his face, looking at us like, oh. He's got another different mud on his back. It's just he's the park bicycle at that point. And we're trying to get it off, and then the Great Dane starts to get like a little like too puppy playful with an old dog. Looking around, the person that they were there with just kind of turns their head and walks away. They are someone that they're one of those dog walkers that brings like 8 dogs to the dog park for 4 hours. One of those people, and then fucks off. It's just like, well, good luck. I'm out of here. That type of human being. So I can relate. That one I was just like, whose dog is this? And just like, it's not mine, suckers.
So
It's real.
when we last left off, circling to actual MMA news, we did the verbal tappies. We enjoyed that. There was one thing that we really didn't talk about that I knew would be near and dear to your heart, but you do know that they're increasing the price again.
Of the UFC? Oh, fuck. To what now?
$74.99.
What was it, 72?
I think it was 70.
70. You sons of... I saw the vitriol and the backlash. It's one of those weird things in society where we all agree this sucks, but we're not particularly doing anything about it. This sucks being the fighter ratio. They talked about the first events being here's what they cost. It was basically $30 or something crazy cheap, and the fighters got a $50K fighting bonus. Now they've got ESPN. They're having one of the best years on record, and guess what the fighter bonus is? Still $50,000. It's just no fighter nutrition and pay.
I think they said at one point the fighter bonuses. This is how long we've been doing this show. I forgot they were 70,000 way back when, and I think they might try to argue. Well, we got more fighters now. Okay, but maybe don't do the part when you brag about your record profits and you're blowing it out of the water and you can't be bothered to pay people more. Now, Sean O'Malley, of all people, was quoted as saying, Dana, what are we doing, man? Dude, come on, in reference to the raising prices. I think the thing that used to bug me a while ago, and I know all things inflation, whatever, but I used to hate when boxing would charge you $100, and they still do, but like $100 for a pay-per-view. I was like, that's absurd. I'll never pay $100 for that. And we're getting real close to that. And it's really starting to bug me because it's not just like $100 quarterly like you would do for a mega boxing event. Now we're talking $100 close because guess what? We couldn't keep this main event intact. So here's Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. Does that do it for you? We'll make it 5 rounds. Is that good?
What do you guys think? You like that? Oh, looking at us sideways.
Because, Kev, may I explain to you the very sadness that we experienced here on the show?
Yes.
Okay, so I got a note from friend of the show, a.k.a. frenemy, one Milton Arguello, who wanted to host the Fight Companion for the announced on Wednesday of last week, so just short of a week ago.
Gosh,
Alexander
how
Volkanovski.
Awesome is that, by the way, that you have someone in your life that's like, let's host this. Let's do it at the gym. Come on.
Dude, I'm super stoked for that. Because for me, I mean, I know that he had a blast and the guys had a blast, and we talked about doing it again. And I said, yeah, but I always tell them, I'm like, I want to get the right fight for the right gym. And he saw that it was back-to-back. It was going to be Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway rematch and Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan rematch. Both were scheduled to be on March 5th. And he said, I want it. And I said, okay, it's yours. And Kev, we couldn't even celebrate it for 24 to 48 hours because in that time, they released a statement that said, oops, I spoke too soon. Max Holloway's hand hurt. He injured it. So we're going to host a lottery to figure out who he's fighting. And we'll get back to you about Sterling and Yan a little bit later. Well, here's what's interesting. And I might need your thoughts and feelings on this one, Kevin. But it appears that when they didn't have that fight anymore, there were some people who were volunteering. Do you know who one of the most prominent volunteered fighters was to replace one Max Holloway?
Volunteered as in they volunteered themselves or other people volunteered them?
They volunteered themselves. There were a few, but there was one prominent one that I said, yeah, that would be a good fight, except for one thing.
Is it Gaethje?
No, but I mean, that I don't think he could make that weight. I think, you know what, though? Gagey probably
You said
sends a
one thing.
blanket statement. There is one thing. It was actually Cejudo.
Oh.
Henry, King of Cringe Cejudo.
Didn't he
And
retire?
the one thing is he retired, which begs the question, don't fuck around and retire.
Don't do it.
See, that's what you get. Now, when you're like, I'm going to save the date. No, you're not. You're retired. You can chill. Dana, you got my number. Dana did not use his number because he knew it meant he would have to pay more. He knew on a short notice he'd be fucked. And they were going to lose that for that event. And guess what, Kevin? These prices go into effect for this next pay-per-view in a week and a half.
Oh, see, that would have been a nice thing to be like, oh, let's give him a good fight for this then. Cejudo's, you're up. Cejudo's.
So Cejudo's is all in there. So
lather up them chalks. Let's get you in. Assless chaps, whatever you want to wear. Wherever you want to wear.
So that means that, yeah, this next event, let's knock on wood, all things considered, we're going to get the Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou with no problems happening out of Anaheim, and we'll have an over and under for that. But then come March, we were losing that as the main event. And then the co-main decided, you know what, let's go to April 2. And that's how you end up getting the grudge match between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington, that while people want to see, do we think that Jorge Masvidal is a big enough of a problem for Colby Covington right now? We've seen Colby's chin. We've seen Jorge Masvidal not look great as of his recent record. The momentum would seem to favor Colby Covington. Do we think there's a real chance? There's always a puncher's chance, Kevin, but what do you realistically think is going to happen in this?
I do not think we will. Okay, it's UFC 272. So I'll just say this is an amazing shot for us to potentially get another round of the BMF title business. I don't know if it's involved in this. I don't know if it just comes with Masvidal, but I do believe this is going to end up being that type of fight.
I would like to tell you, in the time that they put together that dance, there's been some talk about another person, Cub Swanson. They've been asking, like, hey, Cub, you had a win back in December. Things look good. We thought maybe you could ride up into the sunset. You don't have to. We thought you could. And he's like, you know what? I know things are starting to close up, but there is one fight that kind of excites me. We were like, who are you talking about? And he goes, I'd love to fight Uriah Faber, but here's what I want. And people go, ooh, that's not bad. We might as well do that. I mean, it's not going to bother anybody. He goes, I want it to be for a WEC title fight. Like, I want you to bring a title that says WEC
back
for
from
honor
the grave
and prestige. Yeah. So he's saying, like, I want you to give me a belt. So not only are they saying,
love it, by the way, more people should get creative like that.
You could sell the BMF belt if I did my weight category as BMF belt. But no, rather than that, I would like to honor the entity that the UFC gobbled up as a conglomerate and swallowed and spit us back out, and give us a title just for funsies that looks like we got it at fucking Kmart. It would be the same thing, but we would do it for honor. And Uriah responded. He's like, you know what? I don't hate that. Huh. I think I'm kind of into that. So Kevin, this whole thing that we are seeing in front of us now is starting to create new variants, one might say, of belts.
Is going to sound a little... I just read a huge report on millennials, and there's certain things that I disagree with and certain things I love. This is what you and I have been talking about. Giving more specific titles out. Hey, nice beard and pimple face. We're going to give the title out for next fight gets to the next main card area. Not the main card. Don't be crazy. But the one on TV before the fights. They could give out like nicest smile in MMA, crudest mouth. I'm in. This is going to be good. Your question to the fight: Masvidal better knock him out in the first round, otherwise I think he's going to get really beaten the shit out of him by like second, third round. That's my professional prognosis.
Yeah.
He doesn't end it quick.
I don't know what to think about this because Masvidal's talked a big game about running Covington out of his gym and how he feared him. There was also, I believe, Masvidal saying that Covington called the police on him. There's a lot of weirdness to this story that I just think, oh, these two idiots are going to try and milk the most out of their respective nonsense camps out of this.
It is already all over ESPN. It is the first three things you can, three. Yeah. Then I get to new contender series, but it's a picture of Israel Adesanya, which doesn't make a ton of sense. So it's going to be annoying. It's not even the coolest fight I'm staring at in the fight announcements over here.
What is?
Oh, added to UFC 271, Raf, is someone people have been impressed with. So much so, they're taking off their shoes in anticipation.
Oh, God.
He fights no stranger to taking things off. Houston's native son, Derek Lewis. Actually, I forget if it's Houston's native son or he just trades out of Houston.
I believe he is.
But you're getting my Liam Shriver voice that's getting ready. I was just watching one of the preview fight things. It's got to be Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa, which is added to the pay-per-view 271.
Which is great. And I think that I saw Tai Tuivasa went on the interwebs and said, or in an interview, who he'd like to have a shoey with. And he mentioned a big-time celebrity. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to guess. You got 3 guesses. When I say big-time celebrity, who do you think he wants to do a shoey with? And rate what you think the probability of them actually doing said shoey with them is.
Okay, big Hollywood star. Chris Hemsworth.
Well, he might have said that in the past, but that was not this press go-round. But go on.
Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of a top 3, and all this is no one to say Gerard Butler, but
You're
I do not
really
want to use Gerard Butler.
Going to kick yourself when you don't think of maybe the last classic movie star we have.
Sylvester Stallone.
No, but modern. Not the old decrepit, because
Liam Neeson?
We don't know if that would kill. So when we're talking old timey matinee, good looking dude, Oscar winner, also never famously has done a franchise, but has been in some of the biggest movies of all time.
Leonardo DiCaprio,
indeed. That's what he wants to do a shoot with. Yep.
He's really shooting for the stars.
He really is, dude.
Holy shit. Okay, I was way closer when I started this exercise.
Honestly, when you started with Hemsworth, I go, okay, that's not terrible.
I'm in the ballpark. Ryan Gosling, another Ryan, Ryan Reynolds.
So now that you've discovered who it is, what is the probability that Leonardo DiCaprio will do a shoey with him?
2%, but what is the probability that Tai Tuivasa watches a metric fuck ton of Titanic in his spare time?
That's fair.
Do he and my wife have that in common?
I think
Does
so.
Whoever Tai Tuivasa's currently have trapped in his basement, walk up to them, him being like, I love this scene. It's right as Rose is learning to spit. You're like, oh my God. How often do you watch Titanic?
I'm so sorry. When you bullet point the plot points of Titanic as, well, wait, there's the scene where she learns to spit. Did we really give that over $650 million in the U.S. domestic box office?
Every time I see it, I'm in 6th grade again. It's a beautiful movie. It's just really surprising to hear Tai Tuivasa's I want to do a shoey with Leonardo DiCaprio. Who doesn't, buddy?
Sure. But, okay, let me point this out to you. Things change. So maybe it's healthy for us to keep perspective, because you could have asked me 20 years ago if I thought that Leonardo DiCaprio would star in an Adam McKay, then head writer of SNL movie, and I would have told you absolutely not. And yet here we are with him starring in Don't Look Up on Netflix.
This
Not
is
bad.
not, that was an accidentally great plug for Netflix.
Mm.
And Leonardo DiCaprio's career. Did he expand on what his, I'll just let it hang in the ether until we can chat with him. But now we know the number one topic we have for Ty.
We do. And I think that with Ty, I don't know that I could ever get to the who do you want to do a shoey with conversation before I can get to a who hurt you.
At what age
That makes
did you
you want
watch
to
the
do
movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and how did it affect you as a human, as a man, as someone?
But I still am not past this thing where we have normalized shoeys, where people now are asking
So
it
gross, the spit part.
like a normalized question. Because what's happening here is the more that we have people talk about it like a normal thing, that when the rest of us go, wait, are they just drinking out of their shoe? Speaking of which, at Milton's UFC 269 Fight Companion, one of the guys, when Tai Tuivasa was fighting at that fight, was offering, he was taking a bet as to who was going to win a certain fight. And he goes, if this guy wins, I will do a shoey. And I said, no, you're not. And then I got so mad. We weren't on air yet. And I said, do not do a shoey. It's just gross. And then I yelled at them and I said, and if you ignore everything I said, you better do it on camera. Because if you're going to fucking just ignore me, you might as well give us a clip.
Couldn't agree more.
So
And at one point, it really feels like we could have spoken to Tai Tuivasa. I thought we almost did. It's hard. Who can remember? Years turn into decades around here, which is a plug for shows coming up and us as we hit year 11.
Well,
10?
we're
Year
in
10.
We're in season 10. When we finish this year, we will have done 10 years. So yeah, it's a weird thing. I never know exactly how to bill it, but I just go like, who did I tell one year? I go, oh yeah, we're on season 10, and somebody goes, the fuck you guys do seasons? Like, who the fuck do you think you
friends. Are? Yeah. There was a few years I got weird. I got all Phoebe'd. Raph
you
was
could
buying
tell when I went
pants.
to rehab and I was a little puffier. It was great.
That's you can tell the one where there was a pandemic. That was a fun one. It's been going on for 2 years.
I mean, God.
And in this episode, Central Park goes under business because can't afford a staff because, we didn't vote for Donald Trump. So now no business can survive.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, it seems that everybody's still trying to shoot their Conor McGregor shot, but there's one that kind of intrigued people recently.
Was it the Florida Police Department? Who was it that most... Go ahead.
It seems like Michael Chandler has made his plead.
Did Friends get that loose? Is Friends responsible for that memorable? Go on. Michael Chandler.
Michael Chandler is shooting a shot for Conor McGregor. And I think people kind of said, yeah, okay. Because he's not really in the title contention. And Charles Oliveira said some dangerous things. When I say dangerous things, I mean he really seemed to entertain the thought of waiting it out to fight Conor McGregor to defend his title in May. He's like, yeah, I'd wait for him in May. And all I could think about is, no. Oh, but you know what? Make your money, dude. Because honestly, Dustin was probably going to do the same. If you really exponentially think that one out, even though Dana's like, I don't think Conor should be fighting for a fucking title. If he's going to be charging you $74 and he sees that some of you go more to the stream side, and by stream, I mean, hey, do you have a link? That side, I don't know. I don't know that the UFC is going to take too much of a hit. I think we're all too pot invested. And now, as I'm going to have to go home and see my dad at some point after his Christmas tirade of the UFC nickel and diming us, to tell him, oh, they raised another $5, Dad, I'm sorry. To hear him yell about a sport he does not care about even more. No bueno.
I feel so terrible. I got completely lost thinking about how cool the presser would be right before the fight if Jeff Ross sits down and then Joey Diaz sits down and they're like, oh shit, I guess we get the wrong Joey Chandler and Ross. Boy, are our faces red. And then they're just like, take your questions. And the comedians roast. And that's how he hypes up for Connor. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that we've all been trying to figure out how this is going to work.
Bit of a stretch.
Now that our good friend Senor Adam Hunter just released a stand-up special, the first stand-up special on UFC Fight Pass with Chael Sonnen, Din Thomas, and I think Henry Cejudo all doing stand-up comedy. So I think he's creating his own deaf comedy jam version of fighters doing comedy, which like I think
Masters.
I have to kind of put comedy in quotation marks because I think they're doing that thing, and I think you've seen this, where there are people like Jerry Seinfeld who would tell you like, no, when I go to perform, I've got to be funny or they won't laugh. You go, no, you don't. No, they will laugh at you being Jerry Seinfeld. You have a built-in 15 minutes before you've got to earn a laugh if you're Jerry Seinfeld.
Right.
But he's like, no, it's hard. You got to get in there and oh, God. And I just remembered thinking like, get the fuck out of here, Jerry. This is how you can tell they're so disconnected, is that when they reach a certain status, and then you hear somebody like Steve Harvey this week telling you, I don't do stand-up comedy anymore because of cancel culture. And I was like, false. You don't do stand-up comedy anymore because you make a fuck ton of money on Family Feud.
Doing objectively stand-up what you did when you hosted Kings of Comedy, basically.
Right.
What are you talking about? You don't do stand-up comedy.
And for them to
let
be
you
like,
be a judge, dipshit.
That's what I was going to bring up.
You're doing stand-up comedy. I love him so much, but I agree with you. I have that thing where you all of a sudden you listen to the comedians over years and you're like, oh, people just laugh.
Comedian, and it is true, you do have to still workshop the stuff, but like comedians talk about, especially as they get old and established and they're millionaires, that in order to stay sharp, you have to continue performing. True.
By the way, I think he should be a judge. Go on.
You think that Steve Harvey should be a judge?
Sure. Yeah, have him run a sandwich shop next. Who gives a shit? Open heart surgery with Steve Harvey next. Coming this fall. I'm watching. God. I love it.
That would be great if he told everybody, he's like, now what should I do when I stick the scalpel down this spine? Survey says, uh-oh. That's how we're doing healthcare now?
It's just an appendectomy.
Tight.
It's free, but so are the consequences.
Yeah, no, when they talk about it, but I definitely heard, I've heard every big comedian that is established that it's a multimillionaire talk about how like, nah, people don't respect them. They don't get those laughs for free. And I go, you and me should say the same thing, and let's see how people laugh. Yeah. And not saying that you're a legend, not saying that you're not funny. You definitely are. You're still touring.
You got here. In fact, this is the greatest. I'm jealous.
But, hey, listen. Somebody did like a recent thing where they were looking at certain TV shows and they go, yeah, I realized there wasn't a joke in some of these things. They were talking about, I think it was Mitch Hurwitz, who's the creator of Arrested Development. He was joking around on a podcast called Smartless with Will Arnett and Jason Bateman and Sean Hayes. But Bateman and Arnett, two people who starred in that show with him, they took a moment when they were just talking about a whole bunch of different topics to just stop and go, hey, have you guys seen what's passed for jokes on other sitcoms? Ha! And I go, man, they're the people who can say that. Like Mitch Hurwitz had a high batting average on jokes per minute on fucking Arrested Development. Yeah, if that guy's saying it, it might be true.
I love that show. I was just rewatching some of it.
So good.
Wow, we've exhausted our MMA topics. Do we need to ADCCs coming?
Still happening. The trials are going to be on the 2nd and 3rd. Apparently, you can sign up now, kids. So go do that or don't. I really don't care. It would be nice to see some good competition, though. We are very much looking forward to that. So as per Mo, you can also get, I think there's bookings for different hotels that they're putting out there. They're releasing more and more people who they're going to induct into the Hall of Fame, which now makes me think, are these people going to give speeches? Because jiu-jitsu people are not the best with speeches. If you've been to any promotion night, you know that this thing could land 4 hours if they were allowed to speak freely with no time limits. So
well,
just a little hint to
explain a
whoever's
brief
producing
technique
that.
real quick.
Yeah, please, Kev. Go right ahead.
If you start with the heel and then work up to the toe, and that I think there's a Jocko Willett quote. It's Jocko or it's Henzo's book, and then they'll look over at no one because no one's helping. Yeah. This has been your Jiu-Jitsu Awards.
It's
Just
so,
cuts to black.
It's going to be so great when we just sit there and we do the fight companion for that one to go, all right, everybody, you can take this one off. Everybody, bathroom break. We'll be back in 20 minutes. Or we just create a drinking game for that.
Yeah. Every time they mention Kyotero.
Oh, so good. But yeah, Kev, honestly, it's kind of a nice buffer week. Next week, we get back to things as per normal because this upcoming weekend will be the first UFC event back. And then the following week, there is a pay-per-view.
Ooh, okay. There is a pay-per-view.
Yep.
Damn it.
Yep.
Break out the pennies, start saving, put the hustle in your bustle, and I might be in Vegas for one of those. So
ooh, very nice.
Put your seatbelts on. That'll do it for us tonight here at a shockingly fun and dog-specific fight scenario.
Yes, if you made it through the dogs, you might have gotten to some analysis.
People are going to say it was our best radio of 2022.
Probably.
And that'll do it for us tonight. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good fight.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is... Please note, the new number is...